So I made this little video about soul friendships, and I'm just gonna play some. I'm gonna find something to play in the background. So if you're not, you don't have to watch the video. I guess that's my point. I hope you listen to it. I hope you listen to the whole thing, and I hope you have some comments about the ending so I can learn from you. So that's part of why I do this is because I learn a lot from the people that come to my channel and leave comments and talk to me. Okay, hope you enjoy it. I'm also making a version of this on Odyssey and BitChute that has a song that kind of tripped the trigger for me on this one. And every time I go to a certain radio station on the radio, like literally for the past 10 days, this song's playing. And it did make all of this cohesive for me in my mind. So if you go to the BitChute or the Odyssey, you'll see the video after the talk. Thank you guys. So I want to talk to you a little bit about spiritual relationships. But before I do that, I want to give you a little background on me. When I was late teens, early 20s, high school and college, I took a lot of philosophy. I took psychology courses. I was super interested in that because I wanted to know how I worked, how people work, what this place was about from our perspective, a mind's perspective, I guess now. But so I initially spiritual relationships to me, if you've ever met a person and the moment you meet them, whether in the analog or digital world, there's just some kind of recognition. It's like you know them. You just kind of, you're drawn to them. And not the physical in heat attraction kind, but just that knowing. And they're the same way with you. And it gets on pretty quickly and pretty easily. And there's a lot of joy and excitement and fun, and you talk more than you do with other people, and you feel different with them than you do with other people. I personally think that's a spiritual relationship. You may or may not become intimate, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And I don't know if you could say boyfriend, girlfriend anymore, but you know what I'm getting at. And if you don't, it's still fine because you still have that connection. And you're going along and you're exploring each other's worlds and learning about each other, and things are great. And then, bam, a while into it, there'll be something that triggers both of you. And it's not the same trigger, but there'll be a time in your friendship or relationship where all of a sudden it goes sideways and you don't really know why and you can't really put your finger on it. If you've ever experienced this, you understand what I'm talking about. And the insight I had, I'm going to explain of why I think this happens and personally what I'm going to do about it from here forward, because I was analyzing that and I was watching people in my relationships, and I've always kind of gone back and tried to debrief when things went wrong in my life so I don't have it happen again. I try to learn from my mistakes. Um, and I can kind of give you some examples. If you're with me, if you understand, or if you've experienced, not understand, if you experienced what I'm talking about, I think I can flesh it out in a way that may be helpful for the future in your life if you're hearing this. So, in my teens and early 20s, I did have a spiritual relationship with a woman, and she was my girlfriend, and we got on immediately, and it was fantastic. And then when we hit that thing, what I chose to do at the time was to try to ignore it and just pretend like, well, everything else is good, but this thing. And she kind of did the same thing. And then she moved away, and it just kind of dwindled. But it's always stuck with me. She's always still been in my heart. And the thing that it was for me, well, let me keep going. So then in my 30s, I mid 30s, early 30s, yeah, early 30s, I had that same thing happen. Met this amazing woman. Things were going great. Bam, we hit that thing. We both kind of went sideways. Instead of ignoring it like I did, because that strategy didn't work, I confronted it. And I confronted it in a way that was unproductive. And it crashed the relationship much quicker than ignoring it did. Ignoring it, you still hang with the person and you still pretend, but it's not fulfilling and you don't enjoy it, and sometimes there's avoidance and there's arguments and little bullshit nitpick stuff, and you don't really solve it. And so when I confronted it, I didn't solve it either, and it just blew things up quicker. So I I debriefed myself on that, and I'm like, okay, so something else is going on with you inside. What's the deal? And I couldn't figure it out. And you go through depression and you go through all these things, and then you come back and you regroup and you try again most times. I didn't try again for a long time, and I really didn't try, but then another relationship came along and I hit that thing and I didn't do anything. I just kind of sat back and let it fall apart. And that was, it wasn't avoidance to where I pretended. I kind of just bounced on it. I just kind of like said, okay, well, this didn't work, and see ya. And that wasn't the right strategy either. So I'm sitting here at my advancing years, and I'm not old, but you know what I'm saying. Um, with much more time and wisdom, having read a lot more books. I can't believe I just claimed wisdom on myself. I retract that for anybody who's listening and laughing at that. I'm not very wise, but so I reflected anyway, and I kind of looked at the problems of the significant relationships in my life, and I made a real honest, brutal assessment. And I want to give you an example. So, and then we'll finish with the strategy that's probably going to work moving forward if you're ever in a spiritual relationship and you hit that place where it's not working because you adore the person. You belong together in some way, whether it's friends or lovers or whatever, or even two guys who are friends or two women. It's not a sex thing. But I go back to my relationship, late teens, early 20s. I was being shown by my spiritual friend the defect in me that I needed to most work on with that person. So, from my reference point, her soul and my soul knew each other. My soul's bouncing around in this body with this mind doing things, and I had a defect. And somehow her soul found me and said, I love you so much. I'm going to point out your defect in a way that's going to be super uncomfortable, but you're going to see it, and if you can work on it, then I've done my job. And I did that for her too. And coincidentally, it was a very similar defect, and probably partially because of our age at the time. But for me, I got really jealous, and that was based on my insecurity. I was not raised to be confident. Um, Not intentionally raised to be confident by my mother. She didn't do it on purpose, but she didn't make the effort to make me a confident young person. So I had a lot of insecurities. And that jealousy came out, and it wasn't pretty. I didn't go to jail, or it wasn't crazy jealous, but it was jealous and uncomfortable, and I'd feel weird, and then she'd feel weird. And hers was insecurity too, but from a different way. She expressed it differently. And we both were given the opportunity to work on something within ourselves. And we didn't, and we bounced, and I eventually worked through that insecurity to where I'm not a jealous person now. I have full trust and confidence in what other people say. I don't believe most people all the time, but it doesn't hurt me because they have to do their own thing. And so I don't get jealous. And I that took me years. That took me until I was 32 or 33 to get over that insecurity. And I actively worked on it. I pursued it with books. And when you're pursuing defects in yourself, asking friends and family is not really helpful because they will be kind to you and they will tell you, no, you're fine, you're good. When in actuality, you have pain inside and you can't figure out how to do it. So I went to books, which back in the day, but I'd still go to books now because I like to flip the pages. But sorry, that's an aside note. So the and I'm not going to go through all the examples, but I think you get the point. So you meet somebody, you have a soul recognition of them. You love them at their core, and then the two of you get your stuff going, and then you hit those things that damage your friendship. And you can walk away, you can try to ignore it, you can confront it. What I personally am going to try to do from here going forward, I'm going to immediately try to look at what is this triggering me in my emotional makeup and in my mind, and is this something I can work on for myself? Because I believe spiritual friendships are real. I believe that we know each other from before, whatever that may be. And I think we're gifted these people who come into our lives, and we come into their lives, and we not immediately, but we pretty shortly after we get comfortable with each other, we push that thing in each other that we as an individual most want to fix, or our soul most wants us to work on. And that's the best way I can say it. So I would love to hear your comments. I'm going to listen to this back and see if it made sense. I don't edit stuff, it's not because I'm lazy, it's because I'd prefer just a clear thought stream one at a time and hope that it makes some sense. So if I made any sense, thanks for watching. If I didn't make sense, tell me in the comments where I'm screwy on this, because the last thing I want to do is run into a friend who has soul recognition with me and fuck it up because I'm stupid. Because I'm tired of doing that. So if I do get the opportunity to have this kind of friendship again with someone, man or woman, lover or not, then when that thing pushes on me, I want to try to immediately assess what I'm doing or what my state of being is, and see if I can't not only work on it but keep that person in my life. Because you know what's better than a soul relationship, right? If you've ever experienced that, what's better? And if you have experienced it, I'd like to know how many have blown up like I'm saying, because there may be something to what I'm talking about. So I hope there is. I hope I can not do this again and again and again with my soul friends. So, hey, thanks for your time. I appreciate you being here, and I'll talk to you later.